All right, everyone. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine. Thank you so much for joining me here today on the live stream, where I will be joined by my colleague and friend Carl Soule. And today we're going to talk about using Premiere Pro Productions, but for individual editors. So previously, Carl had come on and we've discussed Premiere Pro Productions, which we released back in April, as a way to really... Sorry, I'm getting some playback in my headphones here, where we were talking about kind of using this on a very larger scale for sort of episodic production and as a way to really organize all of your content. And it was really, it's really amazing if you're doing like daily episodes or weekly episodes of things, and it changes the way you think about organizing projects in Premiere. Well, now, today, Carl's going to show you if you're just an individual editor, it can still benefit you and still greatly kind of enhance and really allow you to kind of optimize and speed up your workflow for whatever kind of video you're working in, just in terms of organization, as well as today he's going to showcase a couple of new features that are coming to Productions, which all of you can access through the Premiere Pro Beta, which as subscribers of Creative Cloud, all of the digital video and audio apps are now available to you in beta form from within the CC desktop application. So we're going to show you a little bit of that, where to access those, and then Carl will kind of periodically talk about some of those available features as we're going on in the demo. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring up my dear friend, Carl. How's it going today, man?
It's doing okay. I think I'm coming to you in Super 35 anamorphic widescreen today, where
Yes.
it's the nature of, I just think all the infrastructure, whether you're talking about doing live streams like this or you're on a Zoom call or anything else, I think we're starting to see the internet sort of sag under the weight of all of the different live streaming platforms as people are kind of adapting to this and moving forward. But thanks again for letting me take some of your time today and talk
Absolutely.
to your viewers about some of these practices, because we've really focused on the idea of Productions as a tool for a group of editors working off of shared storage. That was primarily what it was designed for. Was when we talk about like different feature films, and you're talking about anywhere from 2 to 5 to 10 editors that all need to access the same media. They need to be passing sequences back and forth from each other. One person works on one part, one person works on another part. That's a big part of what Productions are all about.
Right.
But
and part of what the design was for, right? That's really kind of why that came into play in the first place.
Exactly. But the added side benefit of Productions is, instead of giving you one Premiere Pro project that's really big and bulky and it takes a while to open, it changes how you think about how you want to organize a feature film or a YouTube series or anything else. So even if you're just somebody who's a solo shooter who shoots stuff, you create episodes, maybe you've got a couple of different shows on your YouTube channel that you want to put together. Right. Productions are a great way of doing it. And the best part about it is, if you get to that point where you need to have a couple of people working together, there's an easy way. You've already got things kind of organized in a way that makes it easy to break things apart and allow for different people to be working on different pieces at the same time. So I thought I'd just share some of the basics of setting up a production with Premiere, just from that standpoint of what I'm going to show you here today. I'm not going to get into all the features dealing with collaboration like project blocking. Right. I really just wanted to talk about what to think about if you're a solo person and you're getting ready to dive into anything that has a lot of media. If you're a documentary filmmaker, you're going to want to see this. If you're working on a TV show, and particularly like a lot of the episodics that I see on YouTube, they reuse a lot of material from past episodes. Absolutely. A production keeps you all nice, neat, and organized so that you can go back and say, oh wait, where's that stuff from episode 2? You don't have to look for it. It's right there within the production waiting for you. Yep. So with that, I was going to dive in and kind of give just a couple of pointers on this. I don't think we're going to be on for very long today, Jason. I think this is probably going to be like maybe 20 to 30 minutes of stuff to cover. But I think it's important to kind of get into this because, if you're using traditional Premiere Pro projects right now, Productions kind of takes things to the next level as far as being able to keep things granular and organized, but being able to find what you're looking for really, really quickly.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, Carl, before we switch over, just want to give a couple of hellos to all of us. Of course, we're simulcasting, as always, to YouTube, Behance, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope. So, Faux My Life, hello. Corey Jeffries, Sifrifana, how's it going? Evil Cerise is commenting the anamorphic diet. Yes, indeed. Pierre-Julien Gaudier, nice to see you. Kirby P Films, what is up? And coming to us over here on Facebook, we've got Vlad and Ambreen, Adam
Mandir
Balcon
from India. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Chris Levy, Marek from Poland, Thomas Benner, Nicole, Louet, Adam, Tarun, Saldi. Saldi, what platform are we using? We're using Wirecast here. The only main difference, of course, is OBS currently doesn't let you simulcast. We're going out to 5 different networks, but it could have very well have been done in OBS Studio otherwise. Nice to see you. We've got Norris and Vasil and Dan and Tor Arn. Adam from British Columbia. Nachman Tao from Brooklyn. Nice to see you. Ivan. All right. And over on Twitter, Periscope as well. Let's see what we've got over here. Oh, my screen's wigging out on me. There we go. Okay, and I actually forgot to go live on Twitter Periscope. So now we are live on Twitter Periscope. So many networks, so many things. Oh, and over on Behance as well. Peter Svensk, Estuardo, Steve Hicks. Oh, and your Steve is saying audio is 2 seconds ahead of video. Really? Interesting. Chris and Pierre. Let me see if I'm seeing the same thing. I'm not seeing it out of sync, but maybe that's just over on Behance. I don't know. We may just have to deal with that today if that's the case. That's typically never a problem, but, you know, what are you going to do? So, okay, I'll tell you what, Carl. So even before we get to it, I thought real quickly, I didn't know if you just wanted me to show just the beta access. I know we're going to get to this later,
sure,
and we can come back to it, but I'm just going to switch over to my screen for a second here so that I can just show everybody. So if you're wanting to access the beta versions of the video and audio applications, as I mentioned. Hold on, I'm going to switch over here so you can see everything. Let me just expand this. There we go. So here we are inside of the Creative Cloud desktop. And along the side here, now again, you've actually had access to these since April, right, Carl? Yeah, it's already been 2 months. And if you look over on the side under categories, at the bottom of categories, you're going to see beta apps. Now, for those of you who are already in our pre-release program, you will have seen this already. But now, available to all users, if you click on beta apps, you will see access to Premiere Pro, Premiere Rush, After Effects, Character Animator, Audition, and Media Encoder. So you can see I've actually got a version of Premiere Pro beta running right now. This is where you could grab the Premiere Pro beta. This is where you'll be able to grab it today to start familiarizing yourself with some of the features that Carl's going to show you. And what's also really cool about that is that inside the beta, and maybe Carl, if you want, you can show this when you get there, there's also ways to actually report feedback, talk about the features, see what's new right from within the app. So we've done a lot of really cool work to make the beta not just like another way to kind of see, the pre-release of what's coming, but also to have a direct connection and give direct feedback to the engineers who are checking this stuff daily. And a lot of these releases are being updated every day. So like I grabbed a Premiere Pro beta yesterday, there's already another update available today. So, but with that, Carl, I'm going to send it over to you and let you start in productions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Now, I'm actually going to start in the shipping version of Premiere because like 95% of what I'm going to show you today is in the shipping version. But just to show that, you know, the team that's created productions, this isn't something that we have just released it and we're not going to go back to. We're making constant little improvements and adjustments. And, you know, Todd Reeder on our engineering team actually refers to these as mighty minis. So I'm going to be showing you a couple of things today that, you know, we first showed in the beta release, when we went from 14.1 Premiere to 14.2, which is now shipping. It's the shipping version of the software. One of these features is something that first showed up in the beta, so people got to see it a little bit early. They got excited about it, and now it's actually in the shipping version. I also want to say that when we talk about the beta version, we've designed the beta very specifically so that you can have the shipping version of the software to do your daily heavy lifting and editorial. you can have the beta installed alongside of it, and they're designed in such a way that they can't conflict. I know for longtime Premiere Pro users who have been part of like closed beta programs, there was we had with the older betas, there were possibilities that it might overwrite some settings or do something, and you didn't want to use them on your production systems. The new open beta that we have within Creative Cloud, you can have the two installed side by side. They can't impact or affect each other, which is really nice if you just want to see if, hey, maybe they've already got this feature request that I put in on user voice. Maybe they're already working on that. You can actually see what's coming, which is really, really nice. In fact, before I even get into productions, I'll show you one of these little mighty mini features that the team actually worked on. If you go into keyboard shortcuts inside of Premiere, I know a lot of people actually use markers, use a lot of different markers, and the existing keyboard shortcuts, you could hit M for marker and it would create a green marker. But if you wanted to go in and change colors, you had to use another keyboard shortcut to make additional colored markers. And so this is, again, one of those little tiny features that you don't see a big, some sort of big press release or anything else about, but it really, really helps out with the workflow. If you just do a search on colors now, so in this example, I'll just do a search on like red, there is now a keyboard shortcut for red markers. And so I can actually assign this to something. And, what I found works really, really well is if I just take and use Option Shift, the M key is still open. So if there's a common marker that I'm using on a regular basis, I might just map it to Option Shift M. And again, I'll just drag it and drop it up here onto the M key. And so now I have a keyboard shortcut which enables me to map to a specific color, so that in one keystroke, I can very quickly just go through and create red markers, orange markers, blue markers, whatever color. I think there's about 6 different colors that you can choose between. So, that's what I talk about when I talk about these very small features, but can have a big impact on your day-to-day workflow. Many assistant editors and lead editors really rely on markers and use different colors, and filter them with the markers panel, to be able to handle things like visual effects workflows and, mark out the good shots. So just something to think about. And I'll show you a few more of those that are more production geared that are coming. They're in the beta. We'll get to that in just a second. But talking about productions for a moment, what a production is it's really a collection of Premiere Pro projects. It's sort of like the next level of organization. Instead of having just a project and having folders and subfolders within that, a production is made up of folders and subfolders that contain additional projects. And I thought I'd walk you through like a common way of organizing and creating a production, particularly if you're going to be dealing with a lot of different media, or you want to organize a show, a series, and you want to have one production that contains all of the seasons, all of the episodes. It makes it super, super easy if you do a lot of flashbacks, if you do a lot of callbacks from one episode to another, because you're in the production, you can search and you can find those other episodes and very quickly, open them up and pull material out of those productions if necessary. So the idea behind this, I'm going to start by creating a new production, and I'm actually going to be using some material that was provided to me from Misha Tenenbaum at EditStock. If you're not familiar with the EditStock site, a great place if you're just looking to get some footage to kind of cut together and practice your skills. But I'm going to go into a new production here. And the first thing I want to do is set where I want to create this production. And in this case, I'm going to put it on some external storage that I have. Keep this off of my existing drive. And I'm going to create I've already done this actually. I've created a separate folder next to where my media lives called, the short film we're going to be working on today is called Overtime. So I've created a folder called Overtime Productions. And I'm going to create my production inside of this Overtime folder. And in this case, I'm going to just call this one 00 Startup. Now, when you first create a production, some of the rules about this, you want to make sure and create the production in a separate folder from where you're going to be keeping your media. You don't want to put your media inside the production folder. The production folder, the production itself should just contain subfolders and should contain Premiere Pro project files and any little files that Premiere generates automatically. So I've got this new production folder, got this new production starting up here, and it's automatically created my first project, and it's given this the creative title of Untitled Project. So the very first thing I'm going to do is just start to ingest some footage. Now, if you're setting this up ahead of time, you might want to think about how you want to organize things. If I know that I'm going to be doing an episodic series, I might actually start by making a folder called Episode 1. And then within that folder, I might want to create a subfolder for footage. And then this project, I might call this raw ingest. Oh, sorry, I created a project called footage. In this case, I'm actually going to delete this raw ingest project. We just don't need it because I'm actually going to be using and putting clips into that footage project. So we'll go ahead and I'll just save that, get rid of it. It'll go and create my little trash can for me there. So if I needed it, I could go back to it. But now I'm inside of this footage project, and now I can start to actually import my clips. Now, in addition to this, I might actually want to organize this even further. And the idea is to kind of get granular. Use your production panel to create those folders and subfolders that you would normally create as bins within an existing project. However you like to organize things, just think about, instead of creating one project with a million things in it, you might be creating 100 projects, each with a smaller subset of things in them. So again, it makes it very, very easy to do searches and things. So in this case, I've got my footage. I might just create, just for the heck of it, I'm going to create a subfolder here, and we're going to call this one Media. And I'm going to stick my footage project inside the Media project. And then as I'm thinking about this, I'm going to need edits. So I'm going to create a folder called Edits. And I'm going to start to build out the organization with folders and subfolders within my production panel. And again, just think about however you organize your existing projects, you're going to want to use that, but then put the individual sequences and media inside of different projects. So under Media, I might want to import some clips. Here I've got some different footage that I'm going to be working with. I'm actually going to start by importing, and as we covered in a past live stream, I'm going to use a special file called an ALE file to get all my metadata in first here. And one side of working with an ALE is I need to link up those clips. So I'm just going to very quickly choose Link Media. I can see it's got the path for my media. We'll just point this at my first folder here. Let's see, demo assets. And here's day 3. I'll have it go through, do a quick search. It's found the first clip. And in this case, it's gone through and it's linked up all of my R3D files. So, this was a project shot on Red. I can work with this. There's no limitations or restrictions whether you want to edit natively or with other types of media. You want to work with proxy files. All of that is compatible with productions. There's no reason to do anything different than you would normally do inside of a project. But you can now see that at the root level of this project, I now have all of my dailies are imported. They're all linked up. I've got, these are false starts. These are different shot numbers, 16C. And I can open these and I can load these and I can actually start to work with these. Now, I might want to think about further levels of organization. If I know that I'm going to be having footage coming in on a day-to-day basis, I might actually want to, in that media folder, I might want to make a folder called Dailies. I might want to make a project. If I know that I've got somebody else that's going to be shooting a bunch of B-roll and that's going to be coming in later, I might create a new project in here and call it B-roll. And then when I create that project, then I can come in and actually choose to import my B-roll footage. And it looks like I've got 2 different days worth of B-roll footage here. This looks like it's all from the kitchen in this case. So you know what I might do is actually, we'll select all of these clips and import them. And instead of calling this the B-roll project, I'm going to go ahead and close it now that I've added that. I'm going to reorganize this and actually call this project Kitchen. And I'm going to add a subfolder called B-roll. So the idea is, whenever you do different tasks, if that's something that you want to go back and you want to search through at a later point, if you've got a bunch of footage that all meets a certain category, if you're doing a documentary, oftentimes it might be different interview segments. Put each interview in a separate Premiere project and just organize those with folders and subfolders within the production. The search box at the top of the production can search through the names of the folders and the Premiere Pro projects. But then within each of those projects, they open up really, really quickly. And they have just a small amount of media inside of them compared to, a project that has, 10,000, 15, 20,000 clips inside of it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this production and move to a slightly different one. So I'm just going to go through here and just save what I've been working on so far. So I want to show you a couple of other organizational techniques. And I've actually I'm going to use the old cooking trick of pulling something out of the oven here. So I'm going to go to Open Production. And I actually have a project here called O2 Organized. And within this, let me just open up the selects that we have started here. So a couple of things you'll note here, and this is just getting into just some best practices on organization within the production. You'll notice that I've assigned numbers to each of these: O1 dailies, O2 B-roll, then I kind of skip ahead to O5 selects, 10 scenes, 20 cuts, 99 miscellaneous. Again, really, really simple best practice to think about. Leave yourself a little bit of space within these projects. The production panel is going to get organized typically by the names of these folders and subfolders. So whatever you want at the top, give it a number like O1. Whatever you want at the bottom, give it a number like 99 in the name. And it will just kind of keep that directory structure organized as you start to build this out. So in this case, I've actually gone through, I've got some different days, dailies. Each of those have their separate projects. My B-roll, I've created a project here called Kitchen Miscellaneous. But if I wanted to continue down that path, we have that other set of B-roll here. So I'll select the folder. I'll choose to make a new project, and we'll call this Office. Now I have an Office project. And what do you think I'm going to import into that? Well, we've got B-roll from the Office. And so I'm just going to open up that folder, again, select all, and import this in. Now, what makes this whole functionality really, really powerful is once you've kind of built out this production with all of these smaller projects, it means that as you want to get started inside of a project, if a project has, just tons and tons of media, I can't tell you how many times I've heard from like documentary filmmakers that are keeping everything inside of one project, and that project, because of a slow cache drive or other things, is taking minutes and minutes to open just to kind of get started for the day. A production is always going to open really, really quick because all it's doing is looking at a folder with subfolders and Premiere projects in it. And from there, you can pick and choose what project you want to jump in and work inside. Now, what's really cool about this is, and I'm just going to take one of these shots here. Delicious donuts.
Those
Okay.
look really good. Yeah.
I'm just going to mark an in and out point, and let's just insert it into this timeline that I have here for my selects. Now, this selects timeline that I've created here actually lives in a completely different project. So if I reveal this sequence in the project, it's going to take me back to my other project here called Car Scene. I don't know why we're making donuts in the car, but bear with me here.
As you do.
I can actually give this a name here. So we're just going to call this one Selects 1. And any of these clips, if I need to find any of these clips, even though they're in separate Premiere Pro projects, the magic of a production is that all of these projects are linked together. So I've cut this clip in from that dailies, or from that B-roll project. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I've got my B-roll projects are all, let's see here. We're going to close that one as well. Make a save to it. If I need to find where a clip is, right now I only have one project open. I only have this Selects project is the only project within my production that's open. I've already got a clip in here because I was working with some of the R3D footage here. In fact, because I'm working with R3D, I'm just going to knock the playback resolution down a touch for my laptop. If I want to find this clip, all I have to do is right click on it and say reveal in project, and it will open up, oh, this was shot on day 3, and it will highlight the clip, and I can immediately see that, oh wait, we have take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5. I can instantly go back and find an alternate take of what I'm looking for. And that's the key thing. As even a solo editor, you can see the benefit of being able to kind of keep things organized. You know, if this particular project has 1,000 shots in it, that's 1,000 less shots that I need to worry about to get started in my day.
Right.
It only I only have to open up the project that contains my editing sequence, my timeline. And I can be good to go in a matter of seconds. But all of that additional material, all of that archival material, previous episodes, it all lives inside of the production.
And this is so significant because, I mean, again, even if you're not working in episodic TV, but we know, because we've heard this from so many customers over the years, that sometimes, just as you mentioned, the load time of a larger project, I myself, you know, I think many of us, we classically will do something and just keep kind of augmenting an existing project in the past, 01, 02, 03, 04, different versions of it. And it gets so bloated that, like you said, you've got 1,000 clips in there that you're not even accessing for the day or don't even need. But that was at a time waste to you previously, just trying to load the thing in. So this shouldn't be understated. This is huge, just really allowing you to kind of get going so quickly, but still have access, 1, to previous content, and 2, those reusable assets are right at your fingertips all the time.
Exactly. And speaking of reusable access, if you have existing projects, you know, I haven't gone in and I haven't started the whole process of organizing audio yet inside of this, but just remember that if you have an existing Premiere Pro project, it's actually a good best practice, and we talked about this on a previous episode, to get all your music organized in a Premiere project, get all your sound effects organized in a separate Premiere Pro project. And when you're working in a production, if you want to add that, I've had a lot of first-time Premiere editors, they'll go through the process of doing this, and then they'll copy and paste 50,000 music clips into their editing project, and then suddenly wonder why their project's taking 20 minutes to load. Well, Premiere is checking all of that media, making sure everything is ready to edit. And, you know, I see... Kevin Monahan is in the chat pod. He just mentioned the idea of keeping it lean and mean. Yeah, that's exactly where we want to go. So, you know, in this case, if I have one of those organized projects, I can just choose add project to production. I can do a quick search on, you know, in this case, I have something called Loops 2020. There's my loops project. I can just click on that. And again, what I just did, let me show you one more time. It's adding this as a copy here. It's telling me it's adding it as a copy. There it is right there. What I just did, I'll do this a little bit slower. I was a little bit quick on the draw there. Right click, add project to production. And the reason you want to do this, instead of moving things around on a Finder level or on a Windows Explorer level, you want to do it from within the production panel, because this way we're going to make a copy of that existing project, and we're going to make sure that all that project settings, any type of scratch disks, autosaves, everything else matches the rest of the production. And that is kind of key to just keeping that organizational structure. It also makes sure that that project has a unique identifier in it, so as you're moving media around, we can remember that, oh yeah, this loop on this timeline came from this project over here. So it's kind of how we track how these different projects are organized and where your master clips live. Okay, that was most of what I wanted to show you. Now, I mentioned the keyboard shortcuts, and I'm actually going to bring up the beta version. I've been running both of them simultaneously here because you can. There's no reason why you can if you want to share between these two. But really quick, in the beta version of Premiere Pro, in this upper corner here, just make sure that that's showing up on the screen.
Yep.
This upper corner actually has a provide feedback button, and it has this little what's new beaker that you can click on. And that beaker is important because it'll show you like a list of stuff that we're working on. So if you were to go and download the current beta version, it's actually going to be called Premiere. I think it's version 14.3 or 14.3 something or other. It may change from day to day as they're adding and working on things. So you can get a sneak peek at the future of what's coming. And the reason that I mentioned this is there's two little tiny shortcuts that I wanted to kind of showcase to you. If you're working with a production, and let me go back to my shipping copy of Premiere, as you start to open up multiple projects, and I'm just going to open up a couple of these different projects here, the tabs up at the top of the projects, they waste a lot of real estate saying project. And if you have like a bunch of tabs stacked on top of each other, it starts to cut the names off a little bit, and you just end up with project. You can't see what you're working on. So we realized that that was a bit of a problem. So something new coming in the beta release, they'll be coming in an upcoming release of Premiere. If you go to Preferences General, there will be a new checkbox here as to whether to show that project and bin in the tabs. So if you want to get rid of that entirely so that you just see, especially if you've named your projects and they have numbers associated with them, so that you can easily see 01, 02, 03, see the beginning of the project names instead of seeing the word project followed by the name.
I love this. This one checkbox is so darn useful, because especially when you've got projects with like ridiculously long, or bins with long names in the past in those tabs, it gets very, very difficult and very unnerving to have to deal with that. Because sometimes the tab will grow. Like if you have a source monitor content, right, with some like red file footage name, it just gets out of hand. The tabs can get out of hand. So that alone for project and bin is so useful. Yep.
I specifically, I'll call out one of the editors that I know that we worked with very closely on the film Dolomite Is My Name on Netflix. This was a feature request I know Billy Fox put in. So Billy, if you're watching, it's coming. The other little new feature that I wanted to show, the other Mighty Mini that I wanted to show, is actually found under Preferences in the timeline. And the idea behind this, when you save a Premiere Pro project, the default behavior is if you had any sequences open, if you had like 10, 15 different sequences open, we want to make sure that the next time you open up the project, all of those sequences are ready to go. They all open up in the sequences panel. When you're in a production workflow, that might not be the way you want to work. You might want to open up a project and then pick which sequence you want to work with. And it can be a little bit disconcerting when you reopen that project and realize, oh, that project contained 20 sequences, and now they're all open. So we're adding a checkbox whether you want to restore open sequences when you open up projects. And so the idea of this is if you keep this turned off, and when you're in production mode, we're going to make that the new default behavior. When you double click on a project in a production, it's just going to open up that project window. It's not going to go in and open up any sequences that you might have previously had open. Again, personal preference. Some people might be organized enough that they want to work that way, but it is one of those things that I think it has a lot of merit for solo editors, but in particular in a shared environment. If the assistant editor was going in and dropping stuff into 15 different sequences, and you go to open up the project to open one of those sequences, and suddenly, blah, here's 15 sequences, it can be a little bit unnerving. Okay, so 2 little things to look for in the upcoming beta release. I mentioned the whole keyboard shortcuts, and if I didn't show you this, I meant to show you this. I'm going to hit, was it Option Shift M? Is that what I had it set for? Let me make sure that I actually set it in here. Keyboard shortcuts. I'll do a quick search. Let's see, Option Shift. Oh, I didn't set it. Let's go back and set it here. Red. So this is actually in the shipping version today. Add red marker. I'm going to go ahead and put it there. So whether it's red or blue or green, any of the colored markers, you can now have a keyboard shortcut. So instead of having to do this in 2 steps, you can now create colored markers both on a clip level and on a sequence level in whatever color you want. So again, another little mighty mini that we've come up with. Jason, I think that's pretty much everything. How are we looking on?
We're looking good on time and on questions here. I'm just going through some. Actually, someone just asked a question about color coding different types of media: blue, project, green, bin. And I know we're doing some work there with different. There's been a lot of stuff and some feature requests around color coding. I know the marker stuff was one of them, but I can't remember where we are with the others, but we're definitely looking into new ways of like color coding everything a bit more in terms of for organization and everything. And someone even pointed out to really have the color organization like in Audition, where we're also getting some changes in future releases. So these are all good opportunities, again, to emphasize for people to kind of download the betas and to play around and to go to that beaker icon and to see what's in there, Yeah,
absolutely. And we are always listening to feature updates or feature requests. If you go to help provide feedback within the application, it'll take you to user voice. And please put your feature request. Put if there's a particular bug that you're running into or anything like that. We're very, very committed to answering your requests. Put something up in there. It'll automatically search and see if there's something similar that's already posted. And in that case, just upvote that one so that way we can kind of concentrate the votes. And I know for a fact that humans look at this on a regular basis. The product managers respond to these requests. And, in the last few releases, I think we've knocked off like the top 9 items that were on the list in one of the updates in 14.1. And we just continue to look at this and use this. So if there is something that you're looking for, I know for a feature request that I know I've already heard from is some way of color coding the projects, and so that the tabs you can easily associate between them. And I've heard that feature request before from some customers. So just keep an eye out. It's not in the beta yet, but we're definitely hearing that one loud and clear.
Yep. Love that. And again, just want to emphasize too, I know when people hear beta and you think about, again, previous pre-release and, there's requirements, right, in getting into pre-release and we want you to be active. And we love that. Of course, we would love for you to submit feedback and do all of these things. But that's partly why we made these betas available to everybody, is that it's just an opportunity, if you feel so inclined, to kind of check out what we're working on. And it could be something that you're already looking to use. And then it's really easy. I mean, they've done such a good job. This is not me drinking the Kool-Aid here. This is just being frank. As Carl just showed you, they've done a really good job. There's multiple ways to see what's new, to tell, and these engineers are reading this daily. That's not to be understated either. This is not some forum, even like User Voice, that they view every day, and it's frequent, but there's so much content going there. These in-app feature requests in the beta, particularly now, because not everybody's aware. So this is actually at a benefit to you. If you see something, you're checking it out, you don't love the way it's working, or maybe it's not working the way you expect, or you have a thought or an idea, that feedback is getting to them almost instantaneously, because the world isn't just entirely aware that we have those betas in CC just yet. So, and by the way, and they can coexist on the same machine. As Carl mentioned, like, let me go to my release version of Premiere. No issue with that. These things can exist separately, side by side. They can even be open side by side if you so desire. They're designed to be installed like that. Not an issue. So fear not about having two versions like that.
And this idea of doing daily beta builds as well, it gives us some real world metrics and feedback. We're not expecting everybody to download the betas, but those that are looking into this, if there's something new that's coming, we had like ProRes RAW support was in the beta, the public beta early. And, it enables us to look and see how people are using it, see what the performance is looking like. People can provide instant feedback. If we come up with since it is a daily build, as we're kind of building on and adding to things, if we release something in the daily build that a user comes back and says, well, wait, now all of a sudden my files don't import, we know about it right away. And it's something we have that instant capability of going back and looking at the changes and trying to figure out what's going on. So it gets rid of that cycle of majority of people having to wait 6 months, 9 months, a year before they see a feature come to fruition. So we're really excited about it. And it's definitely something to just kind of, even if you're not a daily beta downloader, if you happen to hear about something that's coming in the beta and you check it out, run it through its paces. Just give us some honest feedback on it, and if you like it, then you'll make it better towards when we get it in the shipping version.
That's right. All right, everyone. Well, as always, thank you for watching. You'll be able to catch the replays on the Premiere Pro Facebook channel, as well as on Behance, on Twitter Periscope, and on Jason Levine Video, my YouTube channel. So as always, thank you so much for joining. I'll be back on tomorrow on Adobe Live, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And it's funny, there were a bunch of questions in here about creating presets for various things. So tomorrow, my masterclass at 10:30 a.m. Pacific on behance.net/Adobe Live is about creating presets and all the various ways that you can create presets for color, for effects, and for sound. And this is something that Carl and I have shown before. And not unlike some of the things you're talking about, Carl, the way that we create presets is not exactly the most standard way.
They're so powerful when you gather a bunch of effects together and make like a multi-effect preset. I recently was doing a training class with an Ace editor and showing how to make different types of like Brady Bunch style or picture, like
pips and
split screen effects and things like that, and combining motion properties with opacity, masks, and other things. It gets really, really powerful. I hope you also cover track height presets, because that's one of those hidden gems that, from an editing standpoint, you suddenly want to work on dialogue. You can have a one-click key to just like expand that track up big, make everything else smaller so that you can focus on that portion of your sequence.
And by the way, Carl, I got to give you props for that. I didn't even know about that one. I remember, I think we were on stream and I'm like, track height presets, when did that come in? Yeah, so there's just so many of these. What did you call them? The daily goodness. What did you call these little things?
Mighty Minis.
Minis. That's a new one. We used to call them like JVIs. I give full props to
Todd Reeder on the film team, because he's the one. That's the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah, Mighty Minis. There's so many of those, and again, this is one of those things that you don't always catch in the new feature notes, and even in the betas, I've missed it. So yes, we're going to cover track height. That's among them, along with presets for color, effects, like Carl just mentioned, multi-stacked visual effect things in Premiere, as well as sound. And so stick around for that. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Sorry if we couldn't get to all of the questions. I see Brian and Zoom Enhance. Project View presets. Okay, Zoom Enhance, I'll do those too. And Opie Senpai, glad you're having some good use with with Productions as an individual editor, so this was perfect. Again, thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you again next time. All right, have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.